Hey everyone, it's Jonathan from Motorpsychology. Welcome to the channel from wherever you're watching in the world. So in today's video, it's going to be about putting in new tie rods in the C3 Corvette. So I'm going to show you the old ones that I pulled off a long time ago and the new ones that I have, getting that put together and getting those things on the Corvette. And that gets me one step closer to having all the steering components done on this Corvette, and then I can move on to other projects. So stick around for this video. Thanks again so much for your support, and let's see how it goes. So once again, I'll be using this book here and also referring to this book here. This book here has some really good pictures. They're nice and clean, and we'll be working on the steering setup here, which includes the tie rods and here as well. Also, on this repair manual, it's really useful because when it comes to the tie rods, it really shows you some important stuff here as far as the angles that you want to look at the end of the tie rods. So that'll be really critical for that, which is great. And for this one here is pretty good because it has a nice picture here, a little bit of the tie rod there, and it's got the complete suspension build here with the tie rods, and then you have your steering linkage here with the steering cylinder and the other tie rod there. So that's pretty useful as well. So for this, it's really good. It has the torque values, so you can look at your tie rod N ball, which is like a ball joint. That's at 36, and the tie rod clamp bolts are only at 18. So that helps out a lot, and I'll be using that once I install it. This is previously on Motorpsychology. This is me getting the tie rod ends off of the steering knuckle in the first place, and this was at the very beginning of this whole front end overhaul. So using that pickle fork to drive that tie rod off, and then once I get them off, I'm stripping it down. But in this video, we're going to be rebuilding it again. So here are the original ones, and one would go on the right side and one would go on the left side. So this one here is the left side, and if you can imagine, you're driving. So this is the tie rod end that is going to your left steering knuckle, and the way that this one is angled, it's going into the steering linkage rod, which is pretty straightforward. And on this one, this is your right side tie rod end that goes into this part here, and you can see there's no boot on it, and it's probably pretty loose. I never really checked, but yeah, it's a little bit not so great. And this one goes into your steering rod link as well, and that one is definitely looser than it should be. So my goal right now is I'm going to take these apart, and somehow later on I'm going to unscrew these things and figure out how many threads went in. Right now I'm just going to eyeball it on how many threads are out there, and that as well. So these are adjustable when they're installed. So normally the mechanic would loosen this and loosen that and turn this piece of metal here, and that would, so imagine that is still in your steering knuckle. You can turn this, and that would either thread pushing that out, or would either pull that in, which would affect either the wear on your tires, either an outward toe or an inward toe on that as well. So these are old and definitely original, and I'm going to replace them. So I'll show you the new parts before I start installing this or putting this together. When I get around to setting up my new ones, I'm going to use a tape measure to measure the precise distance between here and the outer edge of there, and that will give me a ballpark figure on how to get my new ones roughly in the same position as the old ones. So I'll show you that when I get closer to doing it. So here's the pile of parts that I'm going to use. So there's a tie rod in here, and it tells you whether or not it is a left thread or a right thread, and they're different on either end of the rods that go on. And this is another one that's a right-handed thread, so I'll stick that over there. We've got another right-hand thread over there, and this one's hopefully a left. Yeah, a left thread, so I'll stick that one over there. And we have the tie rod sleeves with the clamps, which are all there and brand new, which is awesome, and they're both identical. And there's the other one. So I'm going to open these up and get things started. So let's do one at a time here. These look like great parts, really nice. So I'm going to put the clamps on just on the bar as we see here, and just going to get another one for reference here. So I'm going to make up one of these ones, but brand new, and paying attention to how these clamps are oriented, and also how each one of these tie rods are oriented as well. So just continuing on with that. Yeah, that looks good. And we'll stick this one on this side. That looks good. And I'm just going to hand tighten them so they don't slide off like that. So I'm going to take out a right thread and see if that works. Looks pretty decent. They should come with a cotter pin, I hope. Looking pretty good, and that will go on, let's say, this side here. And I'm just going to count the threads on here. Which from this point here, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and almost 9. So coming up to this one, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, almost 9. So that's close. That's good. And then, like the book said, you want to make sure that you offset this slightly. So I'm going to get that set up. Okay, so the idea here is you don't want to have that space in both areas, so you need to offset that to about there so that you have a complete coverage there and your space there. So I'm just going to tighten this one up. These bolts here are 1/2 inch. Make sure I get that lined up where I want. Looks good. And I'm not going to tighten it up too tight, just enough to keep it on there. maybe a bit tighter here. Pretty good for now, and then I'll stick in, so this was a right thread, and I'll stick in the left thread on this one. So left thread. Okay, they do have the cotter pins, that's great. And let's give this one a try here. So once again, I'm going to stick this on, keeping it the same orientation as the other one, which is perfect. And we'll stick this one in, and remember it is the opposite type of thread, so it's going to go in the other way, I guess is a good way of saying it. So this feels like you should be loosening it, but it's actually tightening it. So it's definitely stiffer, let's put it that way. So this one here has about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It's got about 8 in them. 8 threads, which is a good ballpark for that. Just going to clean up the workspace a little bit here, give me some more room. Get this one. Okay, I've got this clamped down. I want to make sure that this is lined up with that one, and I'm going to turn this one in some more, which is getting pretty stiff, so I'm going to use a tool and just using a crescent wrench to get this guy in. Now let's have a look at where we are with this. So this guy needs to move up a little bit more. All right, I have these in the right position, and I just need to get this one in the right position. Like that would be good. I'm going to put the boot over this guy here on that side and just put the castle nut on it for now. So for there, we've got the new one and we've got the old one. So this is for the right hand side. I'm going to label that right hand side so I don't forget, and we're good. Now I got to build the other one. All right, it's always a good idea to have a bunch of tape around, and this one I'm just going to wrap around the new one and indicate that it's the right side with just a big R. There we go. That one's set up. I'll do the final adjusting when I have this on the vehicle. I'm going to keep this one as my final reference, and I'm going to put a label on that so I know that's the right side as well. There we go. And I'll put these two away. So you can see now in this newly refurbished and restored part of the Corvette. So the new tie rod just basically will pop in here like that. And the castle nut obviously will go on like so. And then we've got this part ready to connect onto the long steering rod, which we'll get around to. But yeah, that's looking a lot nicer in there than it was previously, that's for sure. All right, I'm going to be working on the left side right now. Once again, this is the old one, and lots more thread on this side, and quite a bit on that side as well. So we'll make sure we get the new one lined up as close as possible. It's nicely set up, and as you can see, once again, the offset there is perfect. So let's open up the new stuff here. So as it's oriented right now, this goes in the steering rod link, and this is the tie rod here. So let's get the other one set up. Open the main pack here. Right thread, and this one is the left thread. Cotter pins. All right, I'm just going to put this one in like this. Having a good overlap there. And tighten. All right, this one's lined up the same as that one. Just do the same for this side. All right, that's in the right spot there. Nice overlap. $14 on this side. So what I did was count the threads on here and then match the same here. There's 14 open here, 14 open on there. I'll just tighten this for now loosely. Now we'll be working on the other side here. This one too has 14 in it. Turn this in a couple more times. There we go. That'll be good for now. So after a bit of playing around with, I've finally got this back where I want it to be, so it's lined up the same as the original. And I've just snugged these tight enough so that these can still move but are not easily to move. So same orientation, and this is for the left hand side here. They're close to the originals. See how much shorter that one is? It's interesting. When I get the steering set up, these will be adjusted as close as possible. And then they recommend that when everything is done, take it to an alignment shop to do the final alignment, which I'll eventually do. So I'm going to put the left-hand side on that one and put them away. So this one is our left, and that's the original left. So as these wait for me to install them, I've got the originals in here just as reference, and I've got the two new ones set up. So that's pretty good. So the same as the other one, when this is completed, this guy here fits onto the steering knuckle like that, and the rest of it's going to go onto this steering control rod. So you can see how the tie rod is going to work there, and we're getting close. So the next video I'm going to be putting all this together. Hey everyone, thanks a lot for watching this video. It's part one of rebuilding the steering components of the front suspension on this red Corvette. So stick around. I'm working on the next video, which is going to show putting it all together, including the steering rod, the steering cylinder, the steering control valve, the steering pump, and all that related stuff. So thanks again, and we'll catch you all in the next video.